Hey everybody, Paddy here. Thank you so much for watching and listening to TFN, the Effin' News. This is a show where I find positive news, good Kiwi, great Kiwi, and stories to inspire you. Now here is what's coming up on the show. First up, our great Kiwi today is Kanoa Lloyd, who lost a job on the project and discovered that she's a mushroom. That will make sense soon. I'll introduce you to a 12-year-old kid who's an incredibly brainy inventor, but he's also absolutely hilarious. You will love him. And finally, how good would it be to help New Zealand's dying kids? Real good, actually. Now, right, let's get into it. It's time to meet our great Kiwi. When I look for great Kiwi to bring to you, I'm after someone who we all know, but who's got something special, who has learned something about themselves that I think can help us all. Kanoa Lloyd is my friend from the project days, but her story over the last year and a half has really inspired me. It's all about the ability we have to change. Kanoa Lloyd, welcome to the Effin' News.
Thanks for having me. This is so wild.
Yeah, well, people won't know, but this is obviously the old project studio where you spent 7 years working every day.
Yeah, every single day. Yeah. I think it's a bit like going back to your old school or something. Like everything looks familiar but slightly wrong.
Yeah,
But it's cool. It's cool to see great stuff being made in here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And I don't even know where to begin, but tell me about your new role? Tell me about your new life. Like, I don't even want to say the words. There's 2 of them, but you are now a
yoga teacher.
So cool.
It is really cool, and it's just kind of a part of what I'm doing because basically once I ended this full-time job and was like, okay, I'm going to be a freelancer and I'm going to work in production, the spaces in between the work were very quiet and my brain was very loud because when you don't have the distraction of work and all the other things, I didn't jump into a booze bottle or anything. So all of a sudden I'm left with my loud thoughts about who am I? What do I want to do now? And I started thinking about the places that I felt most comfortable and at ease, and that for me was the yoga studio. And so a teacher training came up and I was like, wow, I've got nothing else in my calendar, let me go and do this. And I'm so glad I dove into that world because it's just, it's brought me a great deal of comfort, and it's really helped me kind of figure out the sort of human I want to be in this new role.
Yeah, and I know you well,
yeah,
so I can tell that you look amazing. I can just see it, and your aura is incredible.
Yes.
So whatever it is, it's working. But I want to take you back, and I know we've said that this is the old studio, and people are so familiar with you from hosting the project. But what were things like for you behind the scenes or behind the veneer at that time? Because it was not easy. In fact, it sucked at times for you.
Yeah, I mean, there were all sorts of things that went on, online bullying and hate stuff, covering really big emotional stories. Just a lot of stress that you take on because that's what you're there to do. You're there to help other New Zealanders understand these big, yucky things. But I think a bit of that does sort of wear on you. And so, there were definitely times when before the lights went up and before the cameras were rolling that I would just be a heap in my brain, and then you turn it on because that's what you've got to do. But there was a lot of stress being in front of New Zealand 5 nights a week, for sure.
Yeah, and it's taken time to get past that, do you think? Longer than you would have expected, or what?
It's definitely taken time, but I look back at something like the Treaty Principles Bill and what was going on in Aotearoa while that was being kicked around. And I felt so grateful that I could just experience that moment in New Zealand history as a mum, as a Māori woman, take my daughter, I took her out to Ihumātao to meet up with the hikoi, send in a submission on behalf of my whānau and just be kanoa and not be having to digest that, put aside my rage and my heartbreak that, of course, I was experiencing as that conversation was going on. I could just be a human being and not have to package that up and turn it into something for other people to consume as a piece of news.
Yeah, and you would have found that intensely difficult by the sounds of things to do that, to just be a sort of person that relays things and leaves it all behind.
Yeah, because sometimes you do have to put aside the personal in order to present something that makes sense. Like
Totally.
sometimes the way you feel about the news and situations that are going on in the world doesn't make sense. And then to have to turn that into a bite-sized piece that helps others understand, like that's a really big piece of work. And yeah, there have been times when, I've been really grateful that I don't have to do that piece of work anymore. I can just feel my feelings.
Yeah, you can be you. And with the Treaty Principles Bill and being Māori, that was a big part of things, and being a mum.
Yeah, totally. And I could show up for my daughter, who's very young, but, try and explain that for her, connect with my brothers and sisters about what we were going to say for our submissions and like how we were engaging with the kaupapa and focus on that and not have this kind of newsy voice in the back of my head like, oh, my sister Hene Aorangi is down in Wellington. I wonder if I could get her to send us some footage, I could just be like, yes, fly the flag for our family. And that was it.
Yeah, and in terms of, you mentioned before online bullying, being out of that, because I don't think people who aren't in the public eye would realise that, for a woman in particular, and I even guess potentially for a Māori, that there is a lot of this online bullying constantly around you, like rust, I guess. What's it like not having that?
It's really, really lovely. I mean, I know it still exists and, I've seen female MPs in Parliament talk about the kind of stuff that they are dealing with just as a routine part of existing in a space like that. And I really relate to a lot of what they shared. It's like some people get a kick out of telling you that you shouldn't exist and you shouldn't take up space and you shouldn't be having an opinion. And, the logical part of you knows they're sad and they need some better things going on in your life. But it takes a toll. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. And there were definitely times when I felt properly scared, when people... when people who I have very different feelings from started to say things like, I know where you work, I know where you live, whether that was true or not, it felt real to me and it felt really scary. And that was just because of the job that I was doing.
And these, for people who don't understand, these are sexist and racist largely, aren't they? So you kind of get both ends of it, in some ways.
Yeah, all the good stuff, all the pretty stuff. A lot of racist stuff and misogynist comments and I don't know, just the lurking sometimes of just knowing that people are watching you who are not watching you because they think you're a crack up or because they're interested in what you have to say, but they're watching you to take you down. That's not a nice feeling.
Yeah, sorry to take you back to all this. It's sort of like...
It's all right. I'm very zen now, Paddy.
Yeah, I'm sort of like literally dragging you back to the very spot where a lot of this happened. Like going, relive it please for me, Lloydie. Relive it for me.
Yeah, no worries.
But how have you found getting out of that and making such a massive change? Because we live in a society now where so many people have change forced upon them, like redundancy, which you've faced. And people have no choice but to change and try and find something positive. You've done that. How did Kanoa Lloyd do that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think working in the media and the way that all the redundancies and changes rolled out across media, I'll put my hand up and say there was a moment there where it felt like all this stuff was just happening to us and to my mates. But that's not true. There are so many changes going on in the entire landscape of New Zealand through sports and politics and business and all sorts of things. And I see it again and again that people are having to, find ways to deal with these huge changes. For me, I used to literally sit in the studio and say, I hate change, like if something was different in the schedule or somebody was away and there was a person filling in for that. I would literally be like, I hate change. And I think that's quite a normal human response. But for me, what I've discovered is that just being really curious about the change, gathering information about what's different, what's going on, and curious about my reaction to it has made me feel so much more comfortable with it. The way that I think of it is like I'm growing like a mushroom now instead of a tree. So a tree, and we were a bit like this, working in news, you're shooting for the most light, you're sucking up the most resources you can. It's a little bit competitive, you're side by side, but you're jostling for space in the forest. A mushroom is adapting to the environment down here. A mushroom can't grow in isolation. Like you can plant a tree, but you can't plant a mushroom. A mushroom is a community builder, a communicator, not particularly sexy, but it's like it's getting on with the business of existence and finding comfort in maybe a strange place.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful, Lloydie. And tell me about yoga in the west of Auckland, Wellness West, where you teach.
Yeah, so inspired by one of my amazing teachers, Carla Brody, she started offering yoga to people who were living with cancer, and she started doing that over a decade ago, and over time it sort of evolved into being for people with all sorts of chronic illnesses, whether that's tinana, like in the body or in the brain, some sort of chronic mental health condition. And I saw what she was doing, and I thought it was so amazing. I assisted her on her classes, and then we came up with the plan to take it out west, because I really, really feel like everybody deserves a bit of comfort and ease. And often if you are if you're in treatment for some sort of chronic condition, you're constantly, things are changing, things are being done to you. You're in this sort of state of discomfort as you try and navigate your health. So like, what if you could just have 1 hour where it's all about your comfort. It's all about what you choose to do. You can choose to breathe, to lie down, to do a thing that I suggest, or you can just not. And so it's just like offering people, hey, here's this little space where you can just be completely at ease and hopefully learn some tools to take into all the rest of the crap that life is going to throw at you.
Yeah, amazing. And a couple of quick questions to end it. Has there been one moment that's happened where you're like, this is me, this is my purpose?
I think I get that every week when I teach. I wouldn't want to make any of my students feel self-conscious, but I can already see from when I started teaching in February to now the changes within them finding it a little bit easier to breathe, or maybe even finding it easier just to lie down on the floor and close your eyes, because that can be really hard. Yeah, I think that makes me, when I see someone just come and lie down on their blanket and like close their eyes, I'm like, beautiful.
And finally, this has been a fantastic interview. I love interviewing you. I love talking to you. Some advice for other Kiwis, just one piece of advice to help them.
I think curiosity is like my favourite thing at the moment. If you find yourself in a situation where you're not into it, if you can just ask yourself questions and gain some information about that, that's really, really powerful. Be curious.
Amazing. You make me very curious. Thank you very much for joining me, Kanoa Lloyd, a.k.a. Lloydie.
Thanks, Gowie.
Love you a lot. But if you are in Auckland and want to learn to be a mushroom with Kanoa, go to yogawest.co.nz/class-descriptions and look for her wellness classes. Righto. Today, we've got a kid who at 12 years old, I can confidently say, is brainier than me. Okay, today's Brainy Kiwi came onto my radar last year, and I've been wanting to get him on the show since then. He's 12 years old, and who he is will inspire you just as much as what he's invented. Gabrielle Anthony, welcome to the Effin News.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, it is. And what have you got there? Tell us about the Pillbot.
My grandma has poor eyesight, and she takes a lot of pills because of her conditions. And sometimes she takes the wrong pill because she can't see the pill or recognize it. And she's not alone, because 150,000 Kiwis have the same problem. And so I decided to build an AI-powered device called Pillbot that can help people like her recognize their pills.
Whoa. Okay, so that is the Pillbot there. Hold it up. Show me it. Yeah. Okay, so you designed the Pillbot. You invented the Pillbot. This is your complete invention to help Grandma.
Yeah. I used a design thinking process that Samsung Solve for Tomorrow gave me, and it really helped me know what questions to ask, how I should start building my project. And yeah, it was a really great journey.
Okay, awesome. Well, tell me a bit more about the Pillbot and how it helps your grandma. Do you call her Grandma? Do you call her Nana? What do you call Grandma?
I'd call my grandma Anima, and that's the word in my culture for grandma.
Yeah, so Anima, tell me a bit about her. She literally can't see her pills.
Yeah.
So-
She can see like the shape, but like nothing else. It's like quite blurry because she has some conditions in her eyes that make her vision quite blurred.
Yeah, and she's got dementia as well. Am I right in saying that?
Yes. So
Yeah.
originally, I wanted to make Pillbot for both people with low vision and with dementia. But after surveying pharmacists across New Zealand, who gave me loads of advice about my project, I couldn't have done it without them. They helped me realize that dementia and people with dementia and people with poor eyesight have very different needs. For example, like people with dementia would need help to remind them to take their pills, whereas people with low vision would have to recognize their pills. So Pillbot is for people with low vision, but I'm looking into doing a version that could help people with dementia too.
Oh, wow. So this is mainly for low vision at the moment.
Yeah.
And that, tell me how it works, or what did your Anima, what did she have to do before this? How would she tell what her pills were with her bad eyesight?
So before, she used to use a torch or a magnifying glass, or sometimes she'd even ask me for help to recognize her pills. And I was thinking like, oh, what would happen if I wasn't there? What would happen if like I got it wrong? And I thought like there must be a safer, more independent way to do it. And that's where Pillbot comes in. So Pillbot is an artificial intelligence powered device that has a camera in here and a computer in its brains here. And the camera takes a photo of the pill on this platform here. And it uses its AI model in the computer chip to recognize the pill based on its training.
Wow. Okay. And then how does the person know? Does it read it out or something like that? Has Pillbot got a voice? Pillbot, what does Pillbot do then?
Pillbot has accessibility to the cloud, so it uses what it's found from the AI model, and it sends that to the cloud and to the phone, which is read out by accessibility settings that people with low vision have on because they find it hard to read things on their phone.
Oh, yeah, so accessibility settings, that's baked into your phone,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's not an app or anything. So the phone, that can literally speak to their phone, I
Yeah,
guess, and then
yeah.
it comes out of their phone.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Whoa, and you won a big competition. Tell me about that.
I entered into the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition with it, and there were heaps of amazing projects, and I was lucky enough to win. And it's really cool because now I get to talk to people like you and experts in areas to help me make this project go even further and hopefully be available to everyone in New Zealand soon. And it's a really cool competition.
Sure is, and you're a really cool guy. Now, it uses AI. A lot of people are scared of AI. Should we be scared of artificial intelligence, Gabriel? Should we be scared of AI?
I don't think so. But if AI does take over the world, I hope this project helps them realize that I'm on their side.
That's right. So, yeah, if AI does take over the world, they'll be looking for you to at least help them. You'll be with the winners. I like this a lot. Now, other parents would want their kids to be cool like you. You know, how did your parents make you so cool? You're a vibe. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but they did help me and guide me along my project. And so did my teachers from my amazing school, Whitby Collegiate, and the pharmacists across New Zealand who gave me loads of really helpful advice on Pillbot.
And my favourite part of it is the eyes. Who thought up the eyes on Pillbot?
I think it was like a combined effort that we found some googly eyes, stuck them on, and then it's just completed the look.
It has really capped it off, hasn't it? And just finally, what do you say to your grandmother, to your anima? I've got that right, haven't I? What do you say to her? You've invented this for her. What do you say to her and all the other grandmas and people with poor eyesight out there?
I just hope that I'll be able to get this out to everyone who needs it in New Zealand. And I'll have to make a few small improvements, like a better camera and built-in lighting. But yeah, I hope that one day I'll be able to get it out to everyone who needs it in New Zealand.
Okay, the Pillbot is amazing. You are amazing, Gabriel Anthony, an incredible inventor that should help a lot of people. You are a really brainy Kiwi. Are you happy to be a brainy Kiwi?
I don't know whether I'm brainy, but I found a problem in my home that affected a lot of people in my community, and I was curious enough to ask questions and stubborn enough to stick with it through the project, and lucky enough to have had help along the way.
All right, you're a brainy Kiwi and a good Kiwi. Can you accept those? Gabriel Anthony, thank you very much, and best of luck with your next invention, because I'm sure there'll be more. So the competition that Gabriel won last year, Samsung Solve for Tomorrow, has just opened for 2025 entries. And if you're a very brainy kid, years 7 to 13, with a very cool invention, search up Samsung Solve for Tomorrow. It should be the first result that comes up. Right, now it's time for me to tell you how good something is. Now it's time for how good and a special letter. Dear Simeon Brown, do you know how good it would be if you could find $7.5 million to help our dying children? As Health Minister, I want you to know that children are dying nearly every day in this country, and most of them are suffering when they don't need to. So, Simeon, it would be incredibly good if you could find a little bit of money to prevent this. Minister, 360 kids die of illness every year. That's things like cancer and rare diseases and rare syndromes. And right now, many of them are going through unnecessary pain because there is only one publicly funded doctor specialised in end-of-life care for kids. A single doctor for the entire country. To be clear, Minister, a child can be terminally ill and die in this country without getting what's called paediatric palliative care. It is care made specially for kids that makes the end of their life the best it can be. I'm sure you agree, Minister, that our kids deserve to have a pain-free death and to be able to die at home if they can. Every Kiwi kid should be able to die with dignity. So guess what, Minister? Here is the positive news for you. Here is the solution for you. The experts say this can be fixed with just $7.5 million a year. Now, Minister, I know that you are overwhelmed with complex and expensive problems in the health system. I just want to make sure you know that our lack of paediatric palliative care is not one of them. This can be solved with just $7.5 million, literally a rounding area out of the something like $30 billion that gets spent on health every year. I've read the reports and spoken to the experts that are submitting to Health New Zealand, which is currently consulting on what's called models of care for how paediatric palliative care service could look. Minister, a heads up, this consultation closes on Friday. You could demand a briefing on it next week if you want. But I will give you the information you need now, Minister. There is a 4-hub model proposed by your officials that would put 2 doctors in Auckland, 1 in Hamilton, 1 in Wellington, and 1 in Christchurch. They would have supporting crews. This would finally cover the country. Ray Kotuku, the Wellington charity currently filling in the gaps, estimates this would cost $7.5 million a year. That's all. This model is the way to go, Minister. Simeon, I will be straight up with you. Your Health New Zealand officials have been working on this for ages. The health bureaucracy has more than enough information to get cracking on this. This is urgent. Kids need this now. Maybe it is time you added your own energy and impetus as a minister to this and just stepped in and told them to get this sorted. And Minister, there is so much bad news coming out about the health system. Here is your chance for some good news. There's a budget coming up in a couple of weeks that will be full of cuts by the sounds of things. Giving the $7.5 million a year to the 4-hub model for paediatric palliative care would at least be what's called a good news story. So, Minister, there is your solution and your chance to do something positive in health. Simeon, I will leave you with one last thing and be as upfront as I can. What is currently happening to these kids and their families is inhumane in a modern, functioning Kiwi society. Please fix it. All right, that's TFN for another week. If you hear of anything or know of anything that can bring some positivity to the world of news in this country, please get in touch. Paddy@tfn.co.nz. See you next week. Chirp.